This is the 864 podcast from Rob of the Green, providing you with some insights, ideas, and actionable takeaways in just 864 seconds, or 1% of your day, with the explicit goal of making you get a little better, even if it's just 1%. Here's your host, Rob O'Donoghue. Let's do this.
Hey folks, welcome to the 864 podcast. This episode is with one of the most successful and well-known podcasters on the planet, John Lee Dumas. John Lee is the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire, top-ranked daily podcast featuring interviews with today's most inspiring and successful entrepreneurs across the globe. John and the EOFire have been featured in Forbes, Time Magazine and Inc. Magazine. Entrepreneur on Fire itself has been awarded Best of iTunes. He's over 2,000 interviews complete at this point, with about 1.3 million monthly listeners and an average revenue of well over 7 figures, which we talk about on the show. And John Lee is only getting started on his entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the podcast and do hang around for the last 60 seconds after our chat, where I have some info about the show, how you can subscribe, rate, review, and get in touch. Over to the conversation with John Lee Dumas. Enjoy. John Lee, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. This is a spin-off show to my other show, which is called 1% Better. This show is now called the 864 podcast. And in 864 seconds, we will talk and hopefully get some 1% better tips from you over the next, which is actually 14 minutes, 24 seconds, if you're good for it.
I'm good for it, but I just wonder if you had named your show 2% Better, would anybody ever listen to 1% Better again?
Oh, let me think about that. I'll get back to you on that. Well, there is a 10% Better show, 10% Happier. And
yeah, but that's not you.
No. My logic behind the 1% was it's the lowest kind of bar possible, but still achievable. I think 0.5%, I don't think anyone was going to listen to it. So I said 1% seems to work.
Good thought.
Brilliant. So the 864, we're straight into it. The clock is ticking. My egg timer is going down as we speak, so it puts the urgency on me. Johnny, you're a podcaster. You've 7 days a week. You release shows with entrepreneurs. I guess one of the first questions I'd love to get an answer from is around the most common traits you see in entrepreneurs, maybe the ones that are successful, but the ones you talk to, what stands out with them?
They know how to focus. Simple word, focus. They follow one course until success. I mean, I can tell you, the 99% of people out there that don't have the success that they want is because they let themselves get distracted by the stupid stuff, by the TVs, by commuting, by going and buying dumb stuff and traveling to dumb places. Like, the people who are the top 1% of success are those that just cut out all the fat, all the distraction, and they focus. They follow one course until success.
Very good. And a nice little segue into the 1% piece there again. So thanks for doing that. What would you say that maybe 3, 4, 5 insights, learnings, lessons, or advice that would stand out from the thousands of entrepreneurs you have interviewed?
I would say number one is be a person of value. Don't be a person that chases success. I mean, it's an Albert Einstein quote where it really just hit me on the head that I was chasing success for a really, really long time. But when I just flipped it on his head and said, I'm just going to be a person of value. I'm just going to provide value. That really changed everything. So try not to become a person of success, but rather a person of value. Another big one for me is if you want to be, do. Like, literally, it's that simple. Like, I wanted to be a podcaster. I could have pontificated my life away about podcasting and read all about it and researched and watched videos, or I could have actually pulled out a microphone and started podcasting. And I'm glad that I did the latter, because there's only one way to get good at something, and that's to actually do that thing. Like, stop thinking that you need to be good before you start, because that's impossible. That's the definition of trying something new, is you're going to be bad at it at first. You weren't born with these skills. You've had to learn how to do everything. You've got to learn how to crawl before you walk. You've got to learn how to sit up before you crawl. I mean, it's just like the progress of life, essentially. So to me, that's huge as well. And I would say the last thing would be, do things that don't scale. Like everybody in this world just wants to find ways to go viral and to scale and to leverage your face off. Have one-on-one conversations with meaningful people that are part of your world, that are listening to your content, that are consuming your content, that are your listeners, your fans, your audience, and ask them how they found out about you so you can amplify what's working. Ask them what they like about your stuff. What do they not like about your stuff so you can get some honest feedback there. And then ask them what they're struggling with so that you can create the solution for their struggles in the form of a product or a service or a community.
Brilliant. And I think we exchanged emails a while back around negative feedback. I think you had sent out a note after getting some negative feedback. Hater email or whatever. Those people that don't do anything just send those emails rather than actually doing the work and putting themselves out there. How do you deal with those sort of comments, negative feedback? What's the general, I suppose, response to that?
Honestly, it's empathy. I mean, there's a simple quote that is so true, and that's hurt people hurt people. And that's the reality, is that the people that are out there spewing negativity, man, they're screwed up. Man, they are hurt inside. They are broken. And I have empathy for them because, man, listen, I've achieved so much. I have so much success. I've built a lifestyle that I love. I've surrounded myself with people that I love. Life is great. Is life perfect? No, I got crappy moments too. Like, am I perfect? No, I do a bunch of dumb stuff. And there's a lot of things that are annoying about me and my personality. I'm far from perfect. But, I've achieved a great lifestyle and my definition of what a great lifestyle is. And I'm really happy and confident in that. And so when I see people spewing negativity in the world, I walk away from them. When somebody comes at me with something negative, I feel empathy for them because they're hurt and they're broken. They got stuff going on, and it's really sad because they're living their one life and they're living it all wrong.
Yeah. No, definitely. I can feel your empathy there for sure. Another question I had, which when I discovered you and started following you online, I was taken by your website and how public you are about your earnings and your annual, your 7 figures and, highly successful. So absolute congratulations to there. Kind of publishing your monthly counter of what your earnings are, I thought was a novel or a different way of doing it. What was the thinking behind that?
Full transparency. Just, I think that there's a lot of people that say a lot of things in this world, and, there's some trust issues out there, and understandably so, because there are some charlatans out there. There are the Bernie Madoffs of the world, that are just crooks and robbers and thieves, and that's just a fact. It's a sad reality in the world. And so I knew that when I was seeing people like Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income sharing his income report and being a great guy because I knew him, and being a great family man and just being a good person and inspiring people through that, I said, if I ever get to the place where I'm actually generating revenue that matters, I want to actually help people as well. Like, I want to be an inspiration of showing them what works, and then at the same time what doesn't work, because we share our mistakes as well. We bring on our CPA every single month to talk about a tax tip. We bring on our lawyer every other month to talk about a legal tip. So we really have a lot of things that we do when it comes to our income reports to add a lot of value to the world. And it's not just like, oh, look how much money we made. It's partly that, but it's also look at the mistakes that we made and look at some advice that we have for you as well. Like, let's make this a really well-rounded, valuable report that people can really learn a lot from.
Yeah, no, I like it, and the transparency piece is great. And I suppose some people might take on that then, oh, look, he's showing off how much he's earning, but obviously from talking to you, it's genuine, and it's an inspiring thing, I would imagine, as well, right? It can show people it can be done.
That's the hope, that's the goal, and people that are gonna look down upon it and speak negatively upon it, again, that just goes back to I have empathy for them, man. They're broke, they're hurting.
Very true. You mentioned mistakes. We all make them. Met a few today, I think, already.
Of course.
What's the biggest one you've ever made that stands out, and maybe on the flip side of probably the one you've learned most from, maybe?
I'd say the biggest mistake that I'm proud of is I'd say shutting down things that, were working, but just weren't working to the level that, was bringing the kind of ROI, the return on investment that I needed them to do to continue to do it. But then, having the courage to still shut it down, even though they were bringing in revenue and bringing in money and doing good things. Because, when it comes down to it, they were mistakes because we launched, a product here or a product there that didn't do as well as we wanted it to do. It did okay, so we kept it going, hoping that it would turn around or hoping that it would increase. And it was just taking time. It was taking energy. It was taking bandwidth, and we could just be taking that time, energy, and bandwidth back and doing other things with it, which I think is, something that's really important for people to really be self-critical and self-judgmental on how they're spending their time, and is this the best use of it?
Very good. Of all the guests you've interviewed, is there one or two that stand out from your perspective during those interviews that you just took something really impactful away from?
There's just a lot of people that I've interviewed that I've just gotten a lot of great things from. I interviewed Damon John fairly recently about the power of broke. And I'm such a big believer in that. Like, I feel the biggest, shame in this world. And again, this is one man's opinion. So, I encourage people to have their own opinions 100%. But the reality is, you hear parents say, I gave my kid every advantage. I put them in the best schools and they never want for anything. That's not always a great thing. And usually, in my opinion, that's actually setting them up for failure, because where are they struggling? Where are they actually having to be challenged? Like, if they're having everything spoon fed to them, if they're just, not having to really deal with failure and struggle through that at a young age, like, what kind of adult is that creating? And Damon John really talked about that in The Power of Broke, about how he just learned the incredible power of the hustle and of failing, but of getting back up and trying again, because he had to put food on the table and make it happen. How many kids have had to live through actually putting food on the table? Like, not many, especially in the United States. And frankly, that can make people soft, and a lot of times it does make people soft. I am so blessed that my dad, albeit a very well-off man in and of his own right, he has his own practice as a lawyer, did really well, and he could have written me a big check or paved the way for me, but he made me earn it, and that made me hungry, and that made me want to prove myself. And then I got to be honest, there's nothing more satisfying than saying, man, I am successful because I am successful, like, because I built this, because I grinded and worked. And that, to me, there's nothing to be more prideful of than just making it on your own.
Yeah, no, a very good one. Do you ever feel, and probably I know the answer, but it's not something I'd imagine happens, you get complacent? Do you ever think, now I've met it and I'm done? What is it that drives you forward always?
No, actually, I'll throw you for a loop here, because I actually do feel like I get complacent sometimes,
Okay.
that sometimes things come a little easily to me because I've been able to, have a land grab and get some momentum and build up authority and influence, and now things, and, come a little easier and doors open, without me even having to ask, and all these opportunities are coming my way. And I'm just like, man, like, I don't really necessarily need to get up and just grind all day, every day. And, I don't need to just like sweat it out for every penny and dollar that comes in the door anymore, because I have all these passive revenue streams that are happening. And, frankly, I just don't have that, never ending Gary Vaynerchuk drive of, just more, jets, like make it happen all the way. And so I do find myself getting complacent, and, that's when I really find myself saying, what, it's time to really surround myself with others, that I kind of consider in my peer group, like the Lewis Howes, the Pat Flynn's, the Amy Porterfields of the world, and really look at what they're doing and seeing, what's ticking for them and what they're cranking on, to kind of get some inspiration to keep my, motor going in the right direction. But it's easy to get complacent, when you've kind of quote unquote made it, and, you've got, 7+ figures in the bank, and, you're just sitting pretty and money's coming left and right, hand over fist. You just say, hey, maybe it is time for a break. And, I think that everything is ebb and flow in life, and maybe this is just kind of one of my ebbs right now, and I'm totally fine with that. But there's going to come a time where I have that next thing that I just want to go all in on, and I look forward to doing that.
I'm sure the ebb is probably not that much of an ebb either, though, so that's all relative.
It is funny. Kate's like, John, your ebb is like not like most people's ebbs.
I'll take your ebb. Do you want to swap ebbs for a week or two? That's okay. Believe it or not, we're down to the last 45 seconds on my timer, and I really appreciate your 15 minutes here. A couple of quick ones. Do you have a favourite saying or phrase that you believe in or kind of live by?
Totally. It's that Albert Einstein quote. Try not to become a person of success, but rather a person of value.
Okay, that's a nice one. I like it. I'll take that on board. And maybe just, if you give me a random number between 1 and 50, I'll give you a random question.
29.
Number 29. Oh, when you think of success, who jumps into mind?
I'm just going to be honest, that Tony Robbins jumps into my mind. I don't know why, because I don't necessarily look up to him or want to be him or anything, but he just impacted so many people. He's inspired a lot of people, and he's far from perfect as anybody is in this world, but sure. I feel like he is doing what he wants to be doing in this world, and that to me is a form of success.
Brilliant. Excellent. Look, the time is up. We've done our 864. I really appreciate that time you've given over to me today, John Lee. I hope you have a great rest of day, and I look forward to putting this out there and getting lots of good feedback, I'm sure.
Oh, thanks, Rob. I enjoyed spending 864 seconds with you, brother. Take care.
Have a good one. Thanks a lot. Hey folks, so that was the 864 seconds or thereabouts, and I hope you enjoyed it. Was there one key takeaway that stood out? Was it good? Was it bad? I would love to hear about it. So in the few seconds that remain, and to be fair, I've probably gone over, but I have a few asks. Please do subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or iTunes so that you never miss another show. You've heard that one before. I would love if you leave a rating and or a review. All of these help get the show further up the rankings, which means more people see the podcast and then hopefully hear it. It means a lot to me. Follow me on Rob of the Green or on Spreaker.com/Rob of the Green. That's where all the podcasts are hosted, but on the Rob of the Green site you can get to everything. The 1% Better podcast, this one, the 1 Minute Monday videos, and you can also connect in with me through the website. There's a feedback page, or on any of the socials. Just look for @Rob of the Green or Rob of the Green. I think you get the picture. Finally, give yourselves a round of applause because you've all been so lovely, and thanks for listening. Have a great day and good luck.